Drug trafficking is a global problem that affects millions of people, and the story of Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán Loera is a cautionary tale about the dangers of the drug trade. In this video, we'll take a closer look at El Chapo's rise to power, his notorious Sinaloa Cartel, and his two daring escapes from prison. We'll also explore the extreme security measures that were put in place to finally keep him behind bars. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of the high-stakes world of organized crime and the ongoing battle to bring powerful criminals to justice. So stay tuned for an in-depth look at the life and times of El Chapo and the global fight against organized crime. Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán Loera is one of the most notorious drug lords in the world. He's known for his ruthless leadership of the Sinaloa Cartel and his brazen prison escapes. In 2019, El Chapo was sentenced to life in prison in the United States after being convicted of drug trafficking, money laundering, and other charges. He's now being held at the ADX Florence Supermax Prison in Colorado, which is considered to be one of the most secure and isolated prisons in the world. ADX Florence, also known as the United States Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility, is located in Florence, Colorado, and is part of the Federal Bureau of Prisons. The prison was designed to house the most dangerous and violent criminals in the federal prison system, and it's been called the Alcatraz of the Rockies. It's designed to be virtually escape-proof, with a combination of physical barriers, high-tech surveillance, and rigorous security protocols. El Chapo was sent to ADX Florence after being convicted in a highly publicized trial in New York City in 2019. He was accused of smuggling massive amounts of drugs into the United States, bribing government officials, and committing acts of violence against his rivals. During the trial, prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence against El Chapo, including witness testimony, intercepted communications, and confiscated drugs and weapons. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, El Chapo maintained his innocence and claimed that he was being framed by his rivals and corrupt government officials. He also complained about the conditions at ADX Florence, which he described as inhumane and torturous. He claimed that he was being kept in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day, with no human contact or access to fresh air or sunlight. While El Chapo's claims about the conditions at ADX Florence may be exaggerated, the prison is indeed a highly secure and isolated facility. The prison's designed to prevent inmates from communicating with each other or the outside world, and it has a strict schedule of activities that are closely monitored by prison staff. Inmates are allowed out of their cells for only 1 hour per day, during which time they may exercise in a small indoor recreation area. Despite the strict measures at ADX Florence, there have been instances of inmates attempting to escape. In 2019, 2 inmates attempted to escape from the prison by digging a hole through the wall of their cell, but they were quickly caught by prison staff. El Chapo himself has escaped from prison twice before, once in 2001 and again in 2015. Both escapes were highly dramatic and involved elaborate tunnels and bribes to prison staff. In January of 2001, El Chapo, who was at the time the head of the Sinaloa Cartel, was serving a 20-year sentence in a maximum security prison in Mexico. However, on the night of January 19th, El Chapo managed to escape from the prison in a daring and elaborate operation. The escape was planned by El Chapo's associates, who spent months digging a tunnel from a nearby house to the shower in his prison cell. The tunnel was approximately 1.5 kilometers long, and was equipped with lighting and ventilation systems, as well as a motorized cart to transport El Chapo through the tunnel. As El Chapo showered, he slipped into the tunnel and was whisked away on the cart by his accomplices. They then drove him to a safe house and helped him flee the country. The escape was a major embarrassment for the Mexican government and led to widespread criticism of the prison system's security protocols. In the aftermath of the escape, Mexican authorities launched a massive manhunt to find El Chapo, but he remained at large for more than a decade. During this time, El Chapo continued to oversee the operations of the Sinaloa Cartel, which expanded its reach and influence throughout Mexico and beyond. He was one of the most wanted men in the world, with a $5 million reward on his head. El Chapo's escape in 2001 demonstrated his ability to outsmart law enforcement and highlighted the ongoing challenges of combating organized crime. It also cemented his reputation as one of the most elusive and dangerous drug lords in history. On the night of July 11, 2015, Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán Loera, who was then being held in Mexico's Altiplano prison, made another daring escape. The prison was one of Mexico's most secure facilities, and El Chapo's escape revealed major flaws in the country's penal system. El Chapo's escape was orchestrated by a team of accomplices, including his sons and members of the Sinaloa Cartel. They built a sophisticated tunnel that led directly to his cell from a house outside the prison. The tunnel was over a mile long and included a customized motorcycle on rails that was used to transport El Chapo to freedom. The tunnel was equipped with air vents, electric lights, and a modified ventilation system that pumped in the fresh air and removed exhaust gases. Mexican authorities discovered the tunnel only after El Chapo's escape. It was a massive tunnel, measuring about 5 feet 6 inches tall and 2 feet 6 inches wide. It was so well constructed that it took the Mexican authorities almost a year to locate and dig it out. El Chapo's escape was a major embarrassment for the Mexican government, and they immediately launched a massive manhunt to recapture him. They eventually tracked him down to a hideout in Los Mochis, Sinaloa, in January 2016, after he had conducted a series of interviews with Hollywood actor Sean Penn. El Chapo's escape in 2015 was a reminder of the power and influence of organized crime in Mexico, and the challenges that law enforcement faces in trying to bring them to justice. It was also a clear demonstration of the lengths that El Chapo and his associates were willing to go to maintain their freedom and control over the drug trade. After his recapture, El Chapo was extradited to the United States and faced a trial in New York, where he was found guilty of drug trafficking, money laundering, and other crimes. He was sentenced to life in prison in July 2019. The story of El Chapo's escape from the Altiplano prison in 2015 remains one of the most remarkable and audacious prison breaks in history. It also highlights the ongoing challenges that authorities face in trying to curb the power of organized crime and drug trafficking. The story of El Chapo's rise to power and his eventual downfall is a testament to the power of organized crime and the challenges of law enforcement in combating it. El Chapo was born in a poor rural area of Mexico in 1957 and began his career in the drug trade in the 1980s. He quickly rose through the ranks of the Sinaloa Cartel, which became one of the most powerful criminal organizations in Mexico and the United States. El Chapo was known for his cunning and ruthlessness, as well as his ability to evade law enforcement. He became one of the most wanted criminals in the world, with a $5 million bounty on his head. Despite numerous attempts by law enforcement to capture him, he remained at large for many years, traveling from safe house to safe house and using a network of bribes and informants to stay ahead of the authorities. El Chapo's story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of the drug trade and the difficulty of bringing powerful criminals to justice. Despite his capture and imprisonment, the Sinaloa Cartel remains a powerful force in the drug trade, and the United States continues to grapple with the challenges of drug trafficking and organized crime. In conclusion, the story of El Chapo and his imprisonment at ADX Florence provides a glimpse into the inner workings of the drug trade and the challenges of law enforcement in combating it. ADX Florence is a testament to the lengths that the United States government will go to keep dangerous criminals off the streets, and it remains one of the most secure and isolated prisons in the world. While El Chapo's story is a cautionary tale, it's also a reminder of the resilience and power of organized crime, and the ongoing challenges that law enforcement faces in combating it.